Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2063. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Palo Alto, California with a very special guest by the name of Stephan Baral. Stephan, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Definitely, and thanks for having me, Mark.
Absolutely. Now, I'm very excited today because my listeners know that I'm a big-time Porsche fanatic. They hear it ad nauseum. For those of you who aren't, sorry, but I am. That's who I am. Always had lots of Porsches, and today I am with a guy from Porsche, so I'm super excited about this. Now, before I give you a proper introduction and we dive into what you're doing there at Porsche, what's one little thing that most people don't know about you, Stephan?
Yeah, I think one thing that actually most people, even my team, I think, doesn't really know about me is that I owned quite a couple of cars immediately after I got my driver's license back in the days. And I even modified them quite a bit. So I bought, when I was 18, I was always waiting to get my driver's license. And in Germany, you can get it at 18. And I think 2 weeks after it, I actually bought a Volkswagen Golf 3rd generation, which was my first car. And I put everything into it. Like I put a mega exhaust system on it. I also put those super loud loudspeakers on it. I actually even had to put something under my license plates, like those cotton pads, because they started to vibrate when I put on the sound, which was definitely very crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that ever existed here in the US, but in Germany there was something called Angry Eye that you can put on cars. Which made the headlights of the car actually look like the car is angry.
Wow.
So that's another thing that I put on it. And then after that, I really swapped my cars pretty frequently. I had a Volkswagen Lupo, for example. Not sure if you know about it. One, a super small Volkswagen car in yellow. When I was driving around in my student town in Germany, everyone recognized me because it looked like a postal car, because it was the same yellow than the postal cars have in Germany. So I think that's kind of a story that most people don't really know about myself.
Well, we have a little bit in common because the first new car I bought when I was in college was a first-gen Volkswagen Scirocco.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was very proud of that, saved up my money, and my mom helped a little bit with that, and that was a fun car, and I did pretty much like you did, immediately put some of those old 80s gold basket weave BBS rims on it, and big-time stereo, and yeah, all this stuff. That's what we do, so definitely a car guy. Well, let me give you an introduction. We're going to talk about what you're up to there. Stephan Baral is the managing director at Porsche Digital, the sports car manufacturer's digital subsidiary in the United States that currently employs more than 50 people. He's responsible for the development of new business models and products. Stephan joined Porsche Digital as part of the founding team back in 2016. He also heads up Marqued, an online venture of Porsche Digital that focuses on classic and modern classic vehicles. He and his team provided an exciting and transparent auction platform, plus unique content from owners and experts. This is a community for enthusiasts of all types to buy and sell, gain knowledge, and share their passion for all sorts of marques. Stephan also leads the Porsche Ventures activities in the United States with a portfolio of more than 30 companies. In his role, he occupies multiple board seats at portfolio companies. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our valued sponsor, so give them a little listen today. Think Porsche. We'll be right back. Covercraft's newest 5-layer indoor cover is especially engineered for indoor use, providing maximum dust protection when your vehicle's stored in the garage. Your 5-layer indoor cover is custom tailored with Covercraft's attention to detail, form, and fit with the quality and attention to detail that's been their standard since 1965. Even if your vehicle is always inside, dust and fallout can damage the paint, and an extra layer of soft, breathable material protects from accidental bumps and rubs. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. Every one of my vehicles is protected with a Covercraft cover, custom fit to fit the car like a glove. And I have a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com, you'll get 10% off your order plus free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Simply use the code YEAH, YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Greens at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. So, Stephan, let's dive a little deeper into your career there at Porsche and talk a little bit about this new department, part of Porsche, Porsche Digital and Marqued. How did this all come about? Why is Porsche doing this? And then, of course, we'll talk in depth about Marqued because I love this website. It's not only a place where people can go and find cars for sale or post cars for sale, but you go a lot deeper. You get into stories and things about cars and people in cars and so forth. It's one of those sites that consume a lot of my time. I'm going to send you a bill, but it's a lot of fun to be there. So take us on a little journey on how this all came about.
Yeah, happy to do it, Mark. Thank you. So first of all, as you can hear on my accent, I'm from Germany originally. So I've spent most of my life actually in the automotive industry. My first start in automotive was actually in Spain, in Barcelona, working for the Spanish car company SEAT. I don't know if you are familiar with them because
they don't really import those here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2012, I finally made it back to my hometown to Stuttgart to actually start working for Porsche back in the days. So I worked for Porsche headquarters at the beginning of my career. And then in 2016, Porsche actually decided to spin out a subsidiary called Porsche Digital. And the main goal and purpose of that spin out has actually been to work on new digital products, right? So that was our purpose when we first started. And I was very lucky, now looking back, that I was part of the first team of 3 people on the team.
Wow.
And it was a super amazing story. Like we started in 2016. In the meantime, the company is active in 9 locations around the globe. So in all major markets of Porsche. And we have 270 employees globally. And as I said, it has been an awesome ride. And what we are doing are a couple of things, right? And I think we want to focus today on more the new business side of things. But we are essentially doing 3 main things. One part of our team is actually developing digital products on behalf of Porsche. So it's products like the Porsche Finder, where you can find used cars online and things like that, right? Those are things where we are kind of the execution partner for Porsche. So we have the digital talent, we have software engineers, designers, product managers. Then our second focus area is new digital products. One of those is Marqued, and we'll dive into that, I think, today fairly deeply. And last but not least, it's Porsche Ventures, which is a corporate venture capital unit that invests in startups. And that's also part of my role. But let me probably really jump into Marqued for a second. So my team and I, 1.5 years ago, we have been exploring like what kind of areas are still, in our opinion, a little bit unexplored in the car enthusiast market. And what we realized is that, first of all, the car enthusiast market, as you know, is huge, right? There are so many people out there excited about cars. It sounds like a niche market, but it actually isn't. It's tremendously big. There are so many fans. Like if you look at Instagram, the Porsche channel alone has 26 million followers on Instagram.
Wow.
But I guess most of them probably never will own a Porsche at the end, right? So we thought about what can we actually do with all those people that are enthusiastic about cars? And we realized that the entry barrier to become a car enthusiast is actually fairly high nowadays, right? And we explored like opportunities how we can lower that barrier to enter. And that's why we actually started Marqued, because we thought content and kind of engaging content is actually a way to really make people excited about things. So we started with the stories about collectors, about vehicles, but really also putting an emphasis on the people behind the cars and the community, because that's at least my personal experience. I really like cars a lot, but it's even more interesting to meet the people and hear their stories and actually just understand their backgrounds and how they got into it. So that's how we started. And then we added step-by-step new features. One new product that we launched end of last year is the auction marketplace that we have added. The platform will grow over the next couple of months into different verticals. But as you said, it's really not an auction site. At first, it's really a hub for car enthusiasts actually to enjoy reading about cars and meeting people and other owners at the end.
Absolutely. I've interviewed so many people here on Cars, and it always comes back to exactly what you said. It's the people.
Yeah.
The cars, in my mind, are just a catalyst to bring us all together. And if you look at the growth in just cars and coffee type events, whatever they're called, there's a lot of different names for them. It's all about an excuse for people to get together with like-minded fans. And the other thing about the car market, in my mind, it brings together people from all different levels, socioeconomic, politics, genders, everything. But we all come together and we have this common fun thing that we can share and enjoy together. And I really believe that the car industry and the passion enthusiasts for cars, it's a very unique type of world. There's not too many others that can do that, right?
I fully agree with you. Like we had when we launched Marqued really to market last year, we actually joined an event called Rare Shades.
Pete Stout's event, yeah.
Exactly. Here in California. There were I think roughly 400 people. It took place at Skywalker Ranch in Marion County. And there were roughly 400 people, and they've all been so interesting people, right? And as you said, the diversity of those people was just huge, right? They were entrepreneurs, they were successful C-level people from big companies, like big tech companies, but then also people that just found a project car somewhere and restored it and came there, right? And what united them is the passion about cars. But I'm even personally convinced about that, and that might be a little bit a questionable statement for others in the car space, but I'm convinced about that. Some people even buy a classic car to only be part of that community.
It could be, yeah.
Because they want to meet those people, right? And that's also honestly, and probably we talk about it later a bit, but when I bought my 911, it really opened up to me a completely new world in terms of meeting people, in terms of learning new things. And just having a different part in life where you can really have fun with the community out there. So as you can hear, I'm super excited about that space. Like also personally, it's not just my role at Porsche Digital. I'm just really super excited about what we are doing there and what we are able to hopefully achieve in the next couple of years.
Well, see, you found the secret sauce to life, Stephan, and that's why I started this podcast, was to help people that love automobiles find a way to work in that field and be a part of it, because so many people go to work every day and they live for the weekends and the cars and coffees and the evenings, but they don't enjoy really what they're doing. And now with over 2,000 people, 2,063 people on the show, there's lots of different ways to get involved with this. I got to enjoy Pete's first Rare Shades event, which took place during Car Week, Pebble Beach. He had it at Bruce Canepa's shop. Bruce Canepa, of course, another big Porsche file, races Porsches and so forth. And that was the first one. In fact, he really wanted me to bring my turbo that my listeners know as Orange Crush, my paint to sample car. I didn't really want to drive it all the way down there because I'm so picky about it, which is another whole nother discussion for another day. But yeah, this is fun. And we're going to learn about a turbo you have too in a little bit when I talk to you about a special car. But I really love what you're doing. And for you listeners, go check it out. The website, I'll put a link on Stephan's show notes page, but it's very easy to find. It's simply Marqued, and you can just go there, marqued.com, and you can find all this stuff. And it's not just about Porsches either. So if you think, that's not for me, I'm not into Porsches, there's a lot more there for you. So
yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Mark, because I think that's important. Like our other hypothesis when we went into the space has actually been that if you are a car enthusiast, you are a car enthusiast, right? And some people are really purely about a specific brand, which is awesome. But why shouldn't they meet other car enthusiasts from other brands or marques? But then even beyond that, I think there are a lot of people out there, and I would include myself in that. I love Porsche. I love Porsche cars, but I also really like other vehicles, right? Like there are so many very nice cars out there, and you shouldn't limit a site to a certain brand, especially in that space, in my opinion, to really really make it open and welcoming for everyone out there who is excited about the car space.
Well, definitely. And one thing for you listeners to know is maybe you aspire to own a Porsche or a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or whatever marque it might be, but it's not quite, you're not there yet, too expensive, or you can't get in. A lot of these marques have clubs. I joined the Porsche Club when I was in high school, and I couldn't afford a Porsche. I finally got one when I first started working. My first one was a 74 911S. So that was kind of a fun, my daily driver, and I went through a lot of different 911s from there. But you can join these clubs, you can go, and the great thing about joining clubs is you can go to events, and when you start to get to a point where you want to start buying a car, talk to these members. They'll teach you which ones to buy, which to stay away from, which ones, could be a potential car of value. But I always say, don't buy a car based on what it might be worth later. Yeah. Buy it because you love it. And you know what? They might even throw you the keys and let you drive their car. So you might realize when you get in it, this is what I dreamed about. Or you might go, oh, this is not so great.
Yeah, that was something I really learned even since I'm here in the US and in California, because I think car culture here is quite different than in other places. And what I really experienced is exactly what you're saying, Mark, that the people in the space are super open to share their knowledge, right?
Yeah.
It sometimes might seem for new people to the space like the space is not really approachable, right? Because if you see the Cars and Coffees, everyone has a really awesome car there, and you don't really want to go there if you don't have a nice car. At least people might perceive it that way, but it's actually the complete opposite.
Yes.
Like people share everything. They let you even drive the super valuable car, right? That's also something I experienced. So it's fascinating, and I really motivate everyone to go to Cars and Coffee or to join a club, just to try it out and see if they like it or not.
Well, I'll tell you, I went to a exclusive Ferrari event in Florida years and years ago called the Cavallino. And a guy tossed me the keys to a 250 short wheelbase Ferrari. And then later that day, I was telling somebody back at the hotel about it, and he said, well, I have one too. You want to drive mine? I got to drive 2 of those in one day. I kid you not. I couldn't believe it. Kept pinching myself going, these guys are, and this was, before they were worth what they are today, but they were still probably close to $1 million cars. Yeah. So the car world's full of cool people. Let's talk about what I call a driving inspiration. Somebody in your life, business life, personal life, that's been a key mentor or some type of influencer or helper to you to help you move forward in your career.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, I think there wasn't that one person that really influenced me that much. But if I would have to pick one, I honestly think it would be my wife. We know each other now since 20 years, almost 20 years, which is kind of crazy. But I share a lot of things with her when it also comes to challenges that I'm facing, even at work, right? Like things that I'm potentially even afraid of. And she has a really good way in essentially always asking me almost exactly the same question. And it is like something like, what's actually the worst thing that could happen if this fails or if this goes wrong? And that really puts things into perspective for me, right? Because usually it's not that bad, right? If things from a business standpoint. And that helps me to really be courageous and also take kind of bigger risks. But I think beyond that, I was lucky in my business career also to have really different leaders. I had really visionary leaders that looked like 30 years ahead. I had really detailed leaders that were very focused on executing immediate strategies, also very passionate leaders. And it helped me just to understand the pros and cons of all those kind of personalities. And I'm trying to create a good mix in my day-to-day life and how I work together with my team at the end. But as I said, I think one of my mottos in life is really never stop learning and having a growth mindset, right? So talking to people, talking to my team, talking to customers, to founders, and really just getting feedback and trying to implement that into what I'm doing.
It's all about communication, and I think that's a great thing that particularly women can teach us men, is to be better communicators. I've been married for 38 years, and my wife has done the exact same thing for me and helped me many times when I was in situations. And I think for us men, sometimes we're reluctant to share things that we are afraid of or are challenged by because we don't want to look weak. We want to look like we're all knowing, right? But if you kind of open yourself up a bit and expose that, people and spouses can be wonderful helps. But what you said I liked the best about what your wife says is, well, what's the worst could happen? So give it a shot, right?
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, exactly. We're going to take a short break and thank our sponsors. When we come back, we are going to talk about a big challenge you face. So keep that in mind, and we'll be right back.
Awesome.
You listeners know I've been into car care my entire life. I am so excited to team up with AutoGeek in 2022. AutoGeek.net has been a leading source of auto detailing products, accessories, and expert knowledge for more than 20 years. What started in 1997 as a mail-order catalog company has grown into a multi-website based e-commerce store that they are today. With a large online presence on its own website featuring close to 100 different brands, AutoGeek has grown to be the largest car care retailer in the country. AutoGeek's wholesale program serves accounts in over 30 countries, and its retail sector ships worldwide. Go to AutoGeek.net for the best product selection on the internet today and their stellar technical support. AutoGeek.net. It's where I go for all my detailing needs. That's AutoGeek.net. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. If you're listening to this program, there's a pretty good chance you believe what I believe, that the collector vehicles we love are more than just a means of getting from one place to the other. They're a part of our culture, our identity, and as a people, they bring us together at vintage races, classic car auctions, and 1,000-mile rallies. That's why I support the RPM Foundation, which exists to ensure that the critical skills necessary to preserve and restore these important vehicles aren't lost to time. RPM stands for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, and their goal is to inspire the next generation of vehicle restoration professionals through its outreach programs. And they include Shop Hop, Off to the Races, the RPM Future Class, and many others. These programs engage talented young people across the country and connect them with mentors and a variety of opportunities in the industry. For more information on how the RPM Foundation is driving the future of collector vehicles skilled trade, visit rpm.foundation today. So let's talk about this. I like to share, or have my guests share, a big challenge, big failure, something that you had to overcome, but it really is more about the lesson learned. And I've heard some great answers to this. I even had a guest one time that said, every New Year's, my resolution is to fail 100 times in the new year.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, wow. I said, why? She goes, because, and it was a woman, she said, because that means I tried 100 new things I'd never done before that I didn't know how to do. And I thought, wow, what a refreshing approach to failure, right?
Yeah, it's a really refreshing one. And it's actually even like how she phrases it, failing 100 times is my goal, because that hopefully means she doesn't fail all the time. So she even has to try out more than 100 things, right? It's
right.
pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, she might achieve. Well, she does achieve many of those. So take us on one of those situations for yourself.
Yeah, I think that one is for me, luckily, like a business situation that I was in. So a couple of years back, the organization that I was working at the time, they decided to not move forward with a partner that we have been working with since a long time, right? It was a very close partner of ours, and I was actually the person like owning that relationship to that other company. The decision also came a little bit by surprise, right? It came a little bit out of the blue, and we have been quite an important partner for them. So it could have even meant the end for that team over there, right? So it was pretty tough for me, and I was the one like also that had to communicate the situation to the management team. And it took me actually really a couple of days to think about what's the best approach. And I kind of had three different options, I think. One was sending them an email, another one was calling them, another one was flying there and meeting them in person. And I actually decided to go there in person.
Bravo.
And tell them also in detail what the reasoning behind the decision has been, right? And I think despite the fact that they for sure were super frustrated and also disappointed, they actually knew how hard it was for me to actually go there and bring those bad news in person, right?
Right.
And I think that helped them really to separate also the business decision from kind of our personal relationship. That really helped me, and we are still friends. We are still talking. They are even still working on other projects now with us. And I think my takeaway from that one to your question, and that's what I'm trying to apply also in my day-to-day. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it's actually better to take the more uncomfortable route right now to actually safeguard like things for the future and relationships, right? So that's kind of my take from that challenge I faced.
You know, bravo to you, because many people take, I guess I would use the word, the coward's way out. You know, just send an email and hope it goes away and not face it. But for you to do that not only was a challenge, but you also took valuable time out of your day and your life to go and meet with them. And I wish everybody had that approach, even when the news is bad. But the other thing that I love a phrase I learned a long time ago was eat that frog. When you have something bad to do, you just got to eat that frog, right?
Yeah.
And go do it. So my hat's off to you for doing that. That was the best decision. And I think in some ways above and beyond. But you're right. Look what it did. Now you have these communications that are still there. These people could help you in the future, wherever you are, and you don't burn that bridge, which so many people do. It's tragic.
Yeah. Again, communication, right? To your point from before. And it's sometimes really the details, right? Like really those things that seem minor, they make long-term a really big difference for people.
Absolutely. You know, I like to ask people about future and bucket list items. And I realize with a large corporation like Porsche, there's maybe some things you can't share at this point, but are there some things you can maybe share about Marqued that are coming that we might be looking forward to? It could be as simple as a cool story that's coming up.
No, I'm happy to share those kind of things. So I think when it comes to Marqued, as you heard before, I'm super passionate about the space as a whole as well, right? And I think our goal as a team, as a Marqued team, is really to have a big impact on the car enthusiast market in the US, but also globally. And our big vision is actually to really preserve automotive heritage, right? By sharing the passion of cars, but also by sharing the passion of the people that are actually behind the cars. And I think that's a bold vision, right? To preserve automotive heritage. But I think the community out there is doing that already, right? And Marqued could be a tool for some of them at least to essentially leverage to do that. And to the other point we discussed before with like being brand agnostic at Marqued, right? We get that question a lot of times. Why does Porsche Digital launch a product that is not Porsche? Doesn't make sense. One of my employees actually recently shared a really good answer to that, which I would like to kind of repeat there, but I don't want to steal the answer from him. So it was his answer, but I like it. And he essentially said, like, if we want to preserve automotive heritage, there shouldn't be competition between companies, right? It's just about the automotive heritage, and hopefully that's important for all brands out there at the end, right? So I think that's really what I would like to achieve. And in terms of like talking about like new features and stuff like that, I think one thing that we are really embracing on the Marqued team is user research. It's deeply integrated into our team. We talk to our users, we talk to the sellers on the site, and we really embrace their feedback. And we try to implement things that they want to have, if it makes sense also from a business standpoint, right? So I think a couple of things that we want to do in the next couple of months is really also making it even easier for people to really complete transactions and like having a more handhold process, not only for the transaction itself, but also kind of more than also in the ownership experience. So those are areas that we still want to enter at the end.
Very cool. I love it. And I love your colleagues' comments there. They really are important because sometimes, and I think it goes back to maybe older times where people say, oh, I'm a Ford guy, I'm a Chevy guy, or, you know, there's this competition between. But I really think that the automotive enthusiast sector has changed and expanded beyond that and are very welcoming to people in all different marques. And we can rib each other a little bit about who's faster or who's better, but we all know Porsche's the best. So anyway, onward to the next one. Had to slip that one in. Now I'm going to get in trouble and get some emails. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. I love anything that rolls on rubber. You know that. So let's talk about a special vehicle story. I've been dying to hear about this car. Another fellow Porsche Turbo owner. I understand it's an 84. Tell me about this thing.
I have actually a story about a different car, but let me quickly talk about that 84 as well, because it's right now the most exciting car that I'm owning. It's unfortunately not a turbo; it's a turbo look.
Oh, well, you know, even more rare.
It's even more rare, yeah. So it took me, when I came over to California 3 years ago, one of my goals has actually been to buy a classic car because you see them everywhere, right? It took me 3 years to accomplish it because it's so difficult to find the right one. But then last year in September, I think it was, I found that 1984 Carrera Turbo Look in ruby red metallic.
Okay.
So both are quite rare, I would say. And I think the memory or the cool thing about that car is the car itself, but even more the story how I got it. So let me talk about it, and you will like it because there is paint to sample in it as well, in a different way, but an interesting way. So essentially, I found the car online, but then the car didn't sell on that site, and then I connected actually offline with the seller who lived in San Francisco or is still living there. So it was easy for me to meet him, to drive the car. I then bought the car. Interestingly, and again the people, he's also a huge Porsche fan. And we now became friends even, right? So when we met for Christmas for dinner, he brought me a bracelet and I'm wearing it right now. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Okay.
Interesting thing is the bracelet has pearls, paint to sample, ruby red metallic.
No way. Oh, wow. Well, that's special. That's pretty darn cool.
So that was really, really cool, I think. And it also, like, I was super happy about that whole story because it confirms our whole assumption behind Marqued that, like, the trust between buyers and sellers is so important, but also that the people behind the cars are so important. So that was cool. I have another story about the car, but we can also not talk about that.
No, we can do that. Now, the Turbo Look, is that the M491 model designation?
It's exactly that one, yes.
Yeah, that's a very rare car.
Yeah.
You know, I love those. In fact, I've always thought I would really like one without the tail because I love those fenders and the tail's fine and it works and there's a reason for it. But on a non-turbo, not really a reason, but I get why they did that. But I have seen some M491 cars without the whale tail, T-tray on the back, whatever you like to call it. But so tell me about this other car you wanted to share.
Yeah, so essentially it's more about the story that I connect with it. So in 2008, I think it was, I went for a couple of months to Australia and we bought a Toyota Land Cruiser back in the days, which we even gave a name. So the car was called Clarence.
Clarence, okay.
And it was for 2 years, for 2 months, it was our home on wheels. So we took that car through the Australian outback, didn't see anyone for a couple of weeks, sometimes in between.
Wow.
So all kinds of animals, friendly and dangerous, slept in the car, cooked in the car, and just lived in the car. And that's just like, it was one of my most exciting adventures when it comes to traveling. And it just was in that car, right? So that's why I'm just connecting that story to that vehicle at the end.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. I've had a lot of guests on the show tied to the Toyota Land Cruiser, even some like Jonathan Ward, who builds old Toyotas, but kind of retro builds them into new modern machines and so forth. But what a fun adventure. That sounds like a lot of fun. Now, where does Clarence live today? Is he still in Australia?
I actually don't know. I think he's still in Australia, but I have no idea. We didn't follow it. We just sold it after we came back.
Very cool. Fun story. So I'm going to be your car psychologist today, kind of crawl into your head a little bit, all right? If you were reincarnated or manifest as a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive the guy in the mirror as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
So I think that one is for me fairly easy. It would be actually really a 911. Independent of the model year. For me, the car, and it describes what I want to be, right? I'm not yet there, but the car really for me stands for a lot of things, but it stands for really timelessness. It stands for honesty. It stands for sportiness, reliability, innovation, not forgetting where you're coming from, knowing your roots and knowing your heritage. So it's kind of, I just connect a lot of things with that car itself and also how the design developed over the last decades, still seeing what it was at the beginning, but still developing and taking lessons learned, like of the years that it was out there in the market, becoming more efficient, all those kind of things, right? And it's just what I would like to be. I'm not there yet, as I said, so way to go, but that's my goal.
What you aspire to. The 911 is a very interesting car to me because you look back to the first ones that came out, mid 64, 65, all the way up to today, that lineage and heritage, although there's been massive change, it's still the same. And I don't think there's any other mark I can think of or car, maybe a Mustang, maybe, there was a period there where they got a little funky, right? But maybe the Mustang, but the 911, yeah. So, and I like your thought there that you're aspiring to be that ever changing, ever improving transitional vehicle.
I don't know if you ever seen that picture where they have that overlay of how the design developed.
Yes.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Well, you'll know this when you park your turbo and I park mine next to a new turbo. They've gotten a lot bigger. Radically bigger. I was at a dealership. They invited me to bring my car in because they were launching the new Porsche. This was right before COVID wiped us all out. And I parked my car in their showroom. It was the Larson Porsche here in Tacoma.
Yeah.
And my car sitting there next to the new car. And wow, what a difference in size. So that's why I sometimes kind of migrate towards the Cayman because it's a little bit more my size,
Yeah.
I love the way it drives too, but that will be another story. Is there a way that you or your team there at Porsche likes to give back, help others in the automotive sector?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one thing that is pretty obvious from my role, we help really founders to scale their teams, right, with the venture investments that we are doing. And we help them also to really get a foot into the door when it comes to automotive and connect them to the big corporations in Europe and kind of really bridge the gap between how they communicate, right, and those kind of things. So I think that's straightforward from a venture standpoint. But probably coming back to Marqued, I think one thing that we really want to do with Marqued is really helping people also new to the space to really understand why there are people out there that are so passionate about cars, right? So if you go on the Marqued website and you look for some of the stories there, they are really interesting stories. There's one surfer from Venice Beach, for example, and she bought an old Volkswagen bus just because she wanted to have a car to transport her surfboard and stuff like that. But that car, similar to me, kind of opened the door for her to go to those meetups, and then she really got into like the community. Yeah. So it also shows people that you don't actually have to be a car nut like in your youth already, right? You can really grow into that, and actually the hurdle rate to get into it is actually not that high.
Right.
And we just want to really help on the one hand side those people to understand car culture, but on the other hand also help the car culture to actually win that next generation car enthusiast, right? I think that those two things we really want to bring together on marqued.com.
Oh, absolutely. That's tremendous. So is there a great book you'd like to share with our listeners today that you've enjoyed or learned a lot from?
There's one book that I read like years ago, probably 15 years ago even. And I'm a person who reads a lot of I'm not reading a lot of storybooks. It's more like about things that I want to learn about usually. And that book was about neuro-linguistic programming. Sounds very complicated.
Yeah.
But my lessons learned from it was actually talking about how the way you are talking is influencing your mind. Like if you are talking about something in a negative way, like verbally, you're speaking negatively about something, that then also really your head like thinks about that kind of thing in a negative way. But on the other hand, it gives you the opportunity, if you face a challenge in your life, that you actually can talk about it in a positive way, and with that actually even influence your mind in a positive way and even achieve your goals, right? And it was like a huge learning for me that I'm trying to apply really in my everyday life, just being positive in how I talk. And even though things are bad, I try to talk positive about them. And it really helps me, and I think also others then that I'm speaking to not think about, oh my God, we will fail, but more, hey, that's what we learned, and that's what we can do to actually improve again.
Yeah, I think it was NLP, titled NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and complete NLP training to build mental resources, change your habits, and improve communicate. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it was that. I'm pretty sure it was that. I'm pretty sure about that. And it's a large book, and it talks about many things, right? But I think my takeaway was really that positive communication. And it's impressive how much it helps, in my opinion. And I think there's another motto that I have in life, which is a little bit connected to that also, which is love it, change it, or leave it, right? Like to your point from before, like working on something that you're passionate about, I think is super important. And I really encourage everyone, like even on my team, right? If there are things that they don't like and we cannot change, then they should do something else, right? Because it's not sustainable to do something that you don't really like at the end.
Well, it's terrible, actually, and you see people with careers like that and they just hate it. I mentioned that earlier, where people live just for the weekend and where they live to get home. They can't wait for the end of the day. I've always looked at the clock and said, oh, it's 6:00. I have to go eat. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. This is pretty fun, but yeah, exactly. So I'm going to enable you to go on what I call the ultimate drive today. I'm going to buy you any vehicle in the world. Open checkbook here at Cars Yeah. It's the kind of guy that I am. You can be with anybody, and this person could be living or somebody who's deceased, somebody in the past, and you could be driving anywhere. So what does that ultimate drive look like for you, Stephan?
Let me think. So I'm really into kind of also a little bit like management styles and things like that, right? And how you are able to accomplish a vision that you're having, and then really like driving it through, like really being persistent. And I think one person that really sticks out there, in my opinion, is Steve Jobs, right? And what he has done when he kind of started Apple back in the day. So I think that's the person I would love to take on a ride. Before our call, I would have said I would take my 911. Now I would take your 911.
Oh gosh! Hey, the Orange Crush. Okay.
I would like to experience a real turbo, especially 87, because they have the different transmission, so I want to try that out. I think I would be the driver, to be honest, because I'm a really bad co-driver.
Okay.
Where would I drive? I'm a big fan of Latin America, so I would probably find a route somewhere in Latin America, probably in a country where I haven't been yet, probably Colombia or something like that. It's actually one of the locations on my bucket list where I still want to go. I forgot the name of it, but it's in Colombia. It's a huge lake area.
Okay.
Impressive views. I guess they also have really impressive streets. So that's where I would go, I guess.
It's interesting because you're the second person that wants to take my car. And part of me is like, how come more people haven't said that? But maybe it's like, well, I wouldn't want to take your car, Mark. I'll take some other car. But I think that would be pretty fun. I'm not sure if I'm going to be so happy about it going down to South America. But that's okay. We're playing fantasy games here today, but it sounds like a lot of fun. And Steve Jobs has been mentioned couple times here, and of course we all know why. I mean, he's a visionary like Elon Musk or any of the other visionaries in the world that just never took no as an answer and had this vision of what could be. And you look at now, we sit around and take for granted these wonderful devices we work on and wonder, how did we not live with these before? It's pretty outstanding. What I really like, also what stands out for Steve Jobs, in my opinion, is not only that he achieved his vision, but also that it wasn't like a home run for him, let's say it like that. Oh, yeah, right? He had a few challenges, yeah. Yeah, there were challenges, right? And they were also like really difficult situations, but he still stood up again and like went back, did his own thing even, reintegrated, like now Apple is even using parts of that, right? It's super, in my opinion, super interesting, like how that whole story and also his personality and also even his childhood and everything, like just the whole story I think is super. I just would like to learn from someone like him. No kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've taken us on a wonderful ride today, and you and I could talk forever about Porsche, no doubt. But I would love for you to share a parting piece of inspiration, advice, wisdom with our listeners today. Some kind of quote or a mantra? Yeah, so I think overall, if you want to achieve something, you have to be persistent. You should not let demotivate yourself too fast by others, but take feedback and also not lose your humor, right? And I think to my points from before, I think my mantra would be always stay positive and lead with passion, because that's what it's all about. You have to be honest, and when you lead people, the vision has to be honest, the mission has to be honest, but you also have to be a positive leader and drive things forward in that spirit. Absolutely. Well said. How can people learn more about Marqued? So they can just go on marqued.com if they want to. They can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm there, and really want to motivate people also to reach out to us to share feedback, because as I told you before, we want to create something that is valuable for the community, and there are so many people out there with such great experiences, so also encouraging everyone to reaching out and share their feedback. Absolutely. I'll put all these links on Stephan's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. He's the only Stephan Baral, Baral, so it'll be easy to find. But you can also go to the Marqued website, and they have all their connections with Instagram and so forth there. I encourage you listeners to check this out. I found it, and I want to do a shout out thank you to our mutual friend Pete Stout of 000 Magazine. He's the one that connected us today. And of course, your colleague there, Jennifer Bixler at Porsche Digital, for helping set this whole thing up. Thank you, Jennifer. Stephan, hey, thanks for talking Porsche with me today. I'm excited. Maybe I'm going to run out the garage and go take Orange Crush for a drive. The sun is coming out. So there you go. Until you and I talk again, my friend, or see each other at maybe Rennsport or Loot to the Cult or an event you guys put on, I'll see you down the road.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.